Hello everyone, it's Infinity Break. Today I had a special video for you, but before I get into it I wanted to point out the background footage for this video might look like Daggerfall, but it's actually a little different, and you might have noticed that actually. It is from a wonderful project called the Daggerfall Unity project. It takes the Daggerfall, the DOS version of Daggerfall, and shoves it into the Unity engine almost seamlessly. Now it's not perfect, there are bugs, it's still technically in an early stage, but it's really well along. You can play through the entirety of the game now, and it feels like a much superior version to play. I will cover it further in a future video, but for now I just wanted to point that out if you were curious as to what the background footage was. So let's get into the video, shall we? So today's little video was actually requested by Jonathan Szuhai, the person behind the Bethesda Shared Universe Theory. He felt a lot of people were confused. We got a little bit of a mixed response from the first part. I have to agree, it didn't do too bad as for a video on my channel, but it did garner a mixed response. And I think today we were going to sit down and Jonathan emailed me a huge email with questions and very detailed answers, so hopefully it answers a lot of questions you guys have as well. Before I begin, I wanted to point out something to everybody. Like I said, mixed response on the video. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it, and that's perfectly fine. People have their opinions, but what I want people to understand is that this theory, the reason I put it out there is, like I said, I'm a platform. I feel everybody should have a chance, especially if they think out and work hard on some of their ideas. They should have an opportunity to share their ideas with the community. That's why if some people come to me in the comment section with theories, or they email me or do whatever, 9 times out of 10 I will get to your theory. The only other time I wouldn't do it is because I've already discussed it before. And I would ask like, hey, do you have any ideas for anything else or whatever? Like, I still want to do a theory for you. I just think this one's already been done. But yes, I really liked Jonathan's theory. This is the only reason I made a video on it, because it actually is really well thought out. And I won't get too much into it and waste too much of your time, but just understand that stuff may sound crazy, and sometimes in life you'll encounter crazy things sometimes. But when you're in a community like this, in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Bethesda in general, sometimes the craziest ideas, and this also applies to most of life, sometimes the craziest things, they sound crazy, but that's just because they're outside the norm. They're out there because people haven't thought of them before. And I think this theory is cool. It's an idea to brainstorm it. It's a fun concept. I don't think that it will become like it won't be an actuality in the future. I don't think that. But I do think it is a cool theory and something that people can really find enjoyment from, which is why I will share it with you. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the questions and the answers from Jonathan Szuhai himself. So to get through this in an efficient manner, I'm going to read these word for word from Jonathan Szuhai, and then I'm going to provide input as I see fit. So the first question that Jonathan Szuhai proposes is, what intellectual properties are you linking together? Are you going to include every single Bethesda, id Software, etc. game ever made in this shared universe? He says, no, not all of them. Just the ones that I think could fit together, though they will mostly be the major franchises. The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Wolfenstein, Commander Keen, Quake, Heretic and Hexen, Rage, Dishonored, Prey, both 2006 and 2017 versions, and Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth will be included. Rise of the Triad is not a ZeniMax game, but it will have a strong connection to the Wolfenstein and possible Heretic Hexen, which is why I am including it as well. The Evil Within is also a possibility, as is Orc and Elves, but I will need more time to play through those before I figure out exactly how they will fit in. I am also considering including Starfield, but I'm going to wait until it's released, or at least until we see more information about the game's plot setting before we do anything with it. Honestly, that makes sense. The licensed games like Bethesda's video game tie-ins for Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Trek, and the Terminator are out of the question, since not only do they belong to different companies and originate from franchises in completely different mediums, but there is no evidence I can find of them being connected to the ZeniMax franchises, not to mention that these series all have their own lore and continuity that could seriously conflict with each other. Again, makes sense. I think he's being reasonable. He's pulling from franchises that some people would bat an eye at, but he's not going so far as saying Star Trek is related to Elder Scrolls. No. He knows his limitations. He's played through them, and he can't find anything, which I agree, I couldn't make that stretch. So it's not too far out there for some of you, because some of you guys were like, this is ridiculous. How do you connect Wolfenstein with the Elder Scrolls? And I'm like, it's possible. Pretty good possibility. So the next question is, but how can Wolfenstein, Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, etc. all share a universe when they are created by different companies? This is a smart question that Jonathan came up with. This is something I feel like a lot of people that will question this whole thing to begin with will ask this. So his response is actually pretty good. He says, ZeniMax currently owns most of these franchises. They can decide whether or not they are connected. This sort of thing has already happened before. Wolfenstein was originally created by Muse Software, but was later acquired by id Software after Muse went out of business, and they picked that series in the same universe as their own Commander Keen and Doom IPs. This is what I said in the first part of the theory. The Commander Keen, Wolfenstein, and Doom franchises are connected, and as you can see, they weren't all originally in-house games. They were eventually developed in that sense, all under the same house, and owned by the same intellectual person, but they eventually were connected. And today, no one bats an eye at that theory. In fact, a lot of people like that theory, including myself. So, like I said, Bethesda can do whatever they want. ZeniMax could do whatever they want with a lot of the properties because they own all of them. So, like I said, they could do just about anything and decide just about anything. Does that mean they'll actually do it? Maybe. Probably not. But it's still cool that the possibility is out there, and this is how they could be. So that's basically what this theory is about. Next question. Is there anything like the Fallout, The Elder Scrolls theory about how Nirn is a future version of Earth or vice versa? Jonathan, you don't even need to answer this. No, this is not. No, it's not like that. But no, Jonathan does answer it pretty well. He says, no, I'm familiar with the theory. It does raise good points, but since it's completely contradictory to everything we know about the lore of both series, I don't think it would work. My shared universe theory will explain how all these different IPs can fit together in a way that 1. Makes sense, and 2. Is respectful to the various franchises' lore as possible, while only taking liberties when necessary. That is good. He's thought these through, he's played them all extensively, he wants to make sure that they all make sense. They might sound outlandish on paper, but he has as much information as he could gather to back them up, which is why I love this theory so much. Next one, again, very good question. I like how I thought about a lot of the stuff that people will just automatically think when they see the title and want to comment on these videos. Because this one is definitely something I can see someone complaining about. How can some of these games like Fallout and Rage possibly happen in the same timeline? Jonathan then goes on to answer, not all the games happen in the same exact timeline, but they will still be connected in some way. In my theory, Earth's timeline splits into at least 3 branches at a certain point, similar to the Legend of Zelda's timeline. This is because of a temporal event known in the Elder Scrolls as a dragon break, which causes time to become non-linear for a certain period of time that can last from a few hours to many centuries, and branch out into multiple timelines before eventually coming back together into a singular timeline containing elements of the different branches. This particular dragon break shall be referred to as the divergence, after the theoretical split in the timeline that separates Fallout's timeline from our own, and there will be at least one video discussing the timeline before, during, and after the events of the divergence event. This is really cool. He explained this to me before. Again, a little crazy, but at least he has his stuff in a row here. This is actually pretty well thought out, pulling different rules from different universes, because we're already connecting them, so the different rules can apply. So I like that a lot. The next question. Couldn't your evidence just be Easter eggs and pop culture references? See, I actually kind of side with this one. I consider this theory more of a connecting those Easter eggs and all that in the mindset of it all just being, you know, evidence to kind of like connect the universes. It's kind of like cute little nods to one another. I could definitely see someone believing this, as I kind of do believe this one myself. But Jonathan does answer it. They could be Easter eggs, but then again, even simple Easter eggs can be retconned in the first signs of a shared universe, especially when these Easter eggs are references to works that are owned by the same people as the works referencing them. And the references seem way too deliberate to be a simple Easter egg. The skeleton of what appears to be Commander Keen in Doom 2016 is definitely an Easter egg, since it doesn't seem like it could fit with the timeline. But these things, like the Tomes of Power from Heretic appearing in Wolfenstein 2009, due to Raven Software's developing both games, are not just simple Easter eggs, since they could use the same exact name and design as the Heretic counterparts, and prominently feature in the game as upgrades for BJ Blazkowicz's Veil powers. This is where he kind of got me when I read this, because it makes sense. Some Easter eggs are meant to just be Easter eggs, but they could still be used as kind of like little nods and evidence towards the idea of a shared universe. It only solidifies them. They're only Easter eggs until someone says something officially about them, and I like that concept. This is also really cool because I didn't know that in the Heretic series and all that, that these books appeared and that later on BJ Blazkowicz actually used these books as power-ups. See, that makes it a little bit stronger because the character then has to interact with them and use them in the game. And like I said, could be just a simple like ray gun from Call of Duty Easter egg, but it still does leave the possibility for more evidence as these two mediums are interacting with one another, which is really cool. this next one made me laugh a little bit because I could tell there's a lot of frustration behind it, and a lot of people will ask this question because I don't know, I guess they don't think this one through. But it's still a valid question nonetheless, and Jonathan Szuhai answers this one pretty well. The question is, if you want to create a shared universe out of unrelated works, why not just add Pokemon, Pac-Man, etc. while you're at it? Again, you can tell it was born from frustration. But his answer is pretty nice. His answer is, because I'm trying to be cautious and mindful with what I add to this shared universe. And those IPs aren't published, developed, owned, or otherwise affiliated with ZeniMax Media and its subsidiaries. Besides, the realities of those series just don't seem as compatible with the ZeniMax franchises. The series I choose are either already linked together in some way or have potential to be connected based on certain common elements in their lore. This is smart. He continues by saying, I'm already working myself to the bone to try and get people to believe that these franchises are linked. I don't need any further stuff from Nintendo, Namco, etc. to be added in to make it even more confusing. The Pac-Man Ghost and Wolfenstein 3D most likely aren't the real ghosts from the original arcade game. The only non-ZeniMax IPs in these shared universes are ones that actually do have signs of connections with the ones more of the existing ZeniMax IPs like Rising of the Triad. Love or hate this theory, you cannot deny that this person, Jonathan, does think of everything. He knows that you could put anything you want into this theory because it connects universes that otherwise are just completely out there and people wouldn't expect to connect. But he makes it reasonable to a point. He's realistic and down to earth about it. And like I said, not a lot of people, or like he said, I should say, not a lot of people really believe this. So he's been met with many people not liking this theory. But personally, like I said, I'm open up to a lot of ideas. I read it. At first it did sound crazy, but when he gives me the evidence, I actually could back this theory. I could see it possibly having a chance of actually being real. And I like the concept of it. And like I said, he's thought about this extensively. So give it a chance here. Don't knock it, you know? Question: why do you want to do this so badly? What would these completely different series gain from being connected? His answer: because I think the various series sharing a universe would add a whole new level of scope and depth to each of them. I've seen a lot of people complain about how Bethesda isn't doing enough with adding new lore to their games, or how they continue changing existing lore in baffling ways. Well, if they can't come up with some way to add new lore to the series, why not bring in lore from another series by merging them into the same continuity, thus adding new lore to the two series at the same time? It would pave the way for even more stories to be written, games to be released, old questions to be answered, and new questions to be asked. Again, I'm not putting these series together just because I really like them, but because I honestly believe that there are enough common elements spread across the various series for them to be fit together. In fact, a good chunk of Bethesda ZeniMax's IPs are already linked thanks to id Software's Wolfenstein, Commander Keen, Doom, Quake, Heretic, Hexen, and Rage are all connected in some way. Why not add some more? Besides, I think it's safe to say that a lot of Bethesda's fans tend to go back and forth between the different series anyway, regardless of whether or not they're connected. Confirming they are connected would be a huge bonus. Personally, I have to say I don't really diehard believe that they're ever going to really connect Bethesda's, a lot of the IPs like Elder Scrolls and stuff. I see this theory more as, this is a really cool concept, this is a really cool idea, just like how Disney has a connected universe, but even then Disney does go out of their way to confirm stuff sometimes. So some universes could be connected. In fact, me saying the Disney universe and all that, I think it's a really cool concept because like we all thought back and they're not connected at all, but I guess at the same time, like they had a better chance, I guess, than this. They have to do a lot of work to connect these universes personally. So if you're looking at my point of view on it, I don't really think they will ever connect them, but this is how Jonathan feels that they could possibly be connected. His whole theory is, what if they did connect them? You know, how would they be connected? And that's what I like about that mostly. So between Quake and Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth, are you suggesting the Cthulhu mythos is a part of the Bethesda universe? He says yes and no. A version of a Cthulhu mythos is present in the shared universe, but it's not the original, unabridged mythos as written by H.P. Lovecraft himself. It will be the Cthulhu mythos as portrayed in Dark Corners of the Earth and the Quake series. Think of it like Marvel or DC, which have their own interpretations of the Norse and Greek gods. A significant amount of the mythos will be in the Bethesda Cinemax universe, but they will mostly be distilled or altered in some way to accommodate the lore of the games. But Lovecraft purists, such as myself, guys, I love H.P. Lovecraft, will not need to worry. Cthulhu won't be reduced to a mere Daedra, and the great old ones, outer gods, elder things, great race of Yith, etc., will still be what they are in the literal mythos, at least for the most part. There do exist other gods in the Elder Scrolls lore besides the Aedra and Daedra, even if they aren't as active or as interesting in Nirn, and considering the things Lovecraft's gods and creatures are known to do, this is definitely for the best. Won't connecting these series together ruin the significance of certain franchises and turn them into spin-offs of other series? The answer: not necessarily. They will still mostly do their own thing, so all it would do is add some context to the different series to make them feel like they're a part of something even bigger, and it would give some of the lesser known and forgotten installments some sort of purpose. Even ones were rightfully forgotten, such as Fallout Brotherhood of Steel and 2001's Commander Keen game on Game Boy Color, can have a chance to be seen in a different light. I have to start paraphrasing this stuff because I realize this video is almost 20 minutes long. I do not want to keep you guys too long. So basically what Jonathan continues by saying that, basically putting an analogy to the idea that the demons in Doom could be something like Daedra, but in the eyes of the people of Earth, or in the Doom series, they don't know anything about that. So in their eyes and the biblical tales and all that, they're just demons. I honestly don't think the Doom demons would ever be Daedra. They could be something akin to it, as Daedra are technically just demons. But, I mean, at the same time, I don't see that kind of analogy. But I know what he's going for. The screenshot will be up on screen. But we'll continue now. The next question is, but the laws of physics and reality in the Elder Scrolls are radically different from what we see in the Earth-based franchises such as Fallout, Wolfenstein, and other such things like Doom. So how could they possibly be connected? I'm going to paraphrase this again. Jonathan says basically that the plane of Mundus and the way the worlds of the Elder Scrolls work is that everything is completely different. And that's just how it is for Mundus. Mundus is created in a completely different way than most universes are built. He says that the sun, the stars, everything is completely different than how ours work because they are giant holes in the sky, actually. If you know anything about the Elder Scrolls universe, you know that the holes, the stars and everything that are up in the sky that you look up at, they're actually holes left behind when the Magna Gi had refused to continue making Nirn and had fled back to the plane of Aetherius. He then continues and talks about how the outer realms within the realm of the Elder Scrolls universe actually can contain vast multitudes of different universes that have different laws of physics and the way things work. If you think about it in this way, there are multiple different realities and universes that have their own laws of physics and own religions and own ways that they were created. This is actually how I went to in the first part of the theory video, talking about how the outer realms, like I said, were basically just the outside of how, or outside of Mundus and Oblivion and Aetherius and how all those planes work. So essentially, these other worlds can exist. The Elder Scrolls just works differently and it has its own rules of physics. It's kind of like you go into the quantum realm in Avengers, it's a different realm of, reality altogether, and it has its own rules altogether. That's because it's completely different from the regular world. He also addresses how magic in each universe is different. He wants to go into that. He will probably dedicate a video into how those, work, how there are different magics and how these magics draw from different powers and such. And I think that's going to be an interesting topic. I can see how, stuff from the Elder Scrolls works different than how it works in Cthulhu, and how, stuff from Wolfenstein, Quake, Rise of Triad, and even Fallout have their own realm of supernatural abilities, and how they work is completely different. But that does not mean that the shared universes mean that everything has to work the same way. Guys, there are multiple different ways that things could work, and I definitely agree with Jonathan that it's very much possible that everything can work completely differently in these different universes. That doesn't mean that they can't be linked, it just means that they are different universes. One of the last questions is, if the Elder Scrolls shares a universe with Doom and Fallout, wouldn't that lead to a power imbalance? Would stopping Doomguy armed with a BFG 9000 or the Brotherhood of Steel Paladin armed with a Fat Man from blowing up half the Imperial City? Jonathan pulls up a counter argument by saying, what's stopping, any mage or any crazy powerful being from just destroying all of Tamriel in the first place? Anybody can specialize in magic or some crazy arts in any world and destroy anything, but half the time they don't. And the reason is that, like, one, it doesn't fit the narrative. Two, it doesn't make any sense for them to come through. If Fat Man exists in the Fallout franchise, half the stuff would be blown up if someone just ran around with a Fat Man. But resources are limited. People are not going to be just able to, oh yeah, I'm just going to go nuke that Caesar's Legion bunker over there. They don't do that half the time. No one does that because no one uses those materials that often in that world. Just because they exist doesn't mean someone's going to actually go out of their way and do that. And I'm just going to speak and let Jonathan Szuhai do this next part because he makes a good point. He says, besides Doomguy and the Brotherhood of Steel reside in the Outer Realms, there's a very slim chance they will ever set foot in any part of Mundus, much less the Imperial City. So, yeah, that's a really good point. These people aren't even going to get into Tamriel in the first place half the time. People can come from Tamriel outside, as I explained with the first part of the theory, considering that the dwarves actually explored the Outer Realms, but unless you have crazy teleporting magical technology and all that stuff, most people are not going to cross over into each other's universes, unless it's like one special instance out of the other, That's about it. And finally, the last question. He says, do you really think Bethesda would actually try doing all of this? And this one, I think, is perfect, because Jonathan Szuhai sums it up greatly. Jonathan says this word for word. I'll put it up on screen. I agree with this completely. Listen carefully, please. He says, perhaps not, but they can always hire someone that is willing to at least attempt a shared universe. Keep in mind that this theory isn't meant to prove that Bethesda is planning a shared universe, but to demonstrate how they could do it, or might have already done it without even realizing it. So if you don't think it's plausible or it upsets you in any way, then just relax and don't take it too seriously. It is only speculation, and I'm not forcing or expecting anyone to accept it as fact. I agree completely with him. I think people can get really upset over this stuff. It's confusing. I don't understand why. It's not meant... If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. I understand. Some people have respectfully disagreed with me. I've told them that's okay. We've both went our separate ways. He said, I just don't want to hear any more about the theory. And I said, that's fine. We just went our separate ways. But a lot of people do get pretty defensive about this stuff. And I feel bad for Jonathan because he has a really good theory. And I feel happy that at least I'm able to put it out there. This theory is obviously not the only crazy theory out there. But this theory has a lot behind it. And I feel like Jonathan has spent more than enough time and more than enough effort piecing things together to have his own videos dedicated to him about it. And I am, again, honored that I can do it. Because years down the road, maybe this theory will be, respected to a point. I don't expect everybody to like it, just like with every single theory. It's fine if you do not if you do not agree with it, I should say. And I only say that you please respect the person, do not belittle them, do not say, oh, well, this theory sucks, it's bad, because it's not a bad theory. It's very well done. Just because you don't agree with it, or if you do find flaws with it, that's fine, point it out. Maybe Jonathan will find the comment, maybe he will answer you, maybe you guys can have a discussion. Either way, this is a nice theory, and I'm happy that Jonathan has thought on all these questions and has these answers. I apologize the video took so long. I wasn't expecting there to be so many. As I scrolled through, I was like, oh, this might take a while. But I got through them. These are going to go up, and I hope you guys have a lot of your questions answered. I hope this answers a lot of questions and that it clears up a lot of confusion. And I hope you guys look forward to the part 2 coming out soon. I will do my best to make these videos as professional and really just nice looking as possible. Because Jonathan put a lot of effort into this theory, so I would feel like it would be, I say, rude to not put a lot of effort into the videos about the theory. Either way, look forward to that stuff in the future, and we will be going into as much detail as possible with the topics, and we will be going into very interesting topics that you guys might find entertaining and really cool to brainstorm. So yes, like I said, this has been the video. Hopefully I answered all of your questions. Hopefully you are all looking forward to the rest of this theory. And I hope that you guys will be watching the next video. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to do a review on Daze Azara, the mod with the Dwarven flying ship that is also a player home that was featured in my Continuum Gauntlet playthrough. And then after that, I'm probably going to make another mod playthrough, and then probably post the other Continuum Gauntlet review. And then, of course, I have to make the theory on this theory. But besides that, that's my schedule for the next couple of days to a week or so. So look forward to that stuff. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys have a nice day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you're at. Say it with me now. Play well, eat well, and of course live well, friends. Hope you guys have a nice evening, day, wherever. And I hope you guys take it easy.